Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I have something very different that I'm going to introduce you to. It's a lovely, lovely lady. Her name's Pamela Appel. And not only is she representing a company, which is important, but she also is a fantastic comedian. And we've just made a deal for those of you who are going to come to the Cure Symposium. We've invited Pamela, for the first time we've ever done this, to give us a very short comedic skit that she's going to do. And we'll tell you more about that as we tell you about Cure Symposium on May the 6th on a Saturday. But for the moment, I want to introduce Pamela Appel, who is the Business Development Manager at Akuna, Canada, and they make something called Cogni Supreme. So welcome to our show, Pamela, and tell us, you came here very early this morning. Did you come directly from Canada?
Good morning, ANITA. Thanks very much for having me. No, I actually arrived on Thursday night.
Oh, so you had a break. You get ready for this, right?
I did, yes. Yeah.
And so, Cogni Supreme, it almost sounds like it's some sort of a dessert.
Well, that's a very nice way of putting it, actually. Yeah, that's a very nice way of thinking of it. It's a brain supplement. So,
darn it, I thought it was going to be a sexy supplement.
Well, you know what Dr. Ruth used to say, right?
No,
the sex is all in the brain.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I had forgotten that. That's very good. So we ought to talk about that.
I mean, it's a really quite an interesting supplement, actually. It's meant to help with focus and concentration. And there have been studies done that show that it does have impact on short-term memory. I can speak from my own experience with the product. I gave it to my husband because he was having some problems with short-term memory, and so immediately put him on the product. And we did see an improvement within about 2 months.
Oh, but I love what you told me about this, that he forgot something and he picked on you. And then you pick back on him. Yes, that's very cute. Yeah, you have to tell everyone that.
Well, I'll tell you sort of how it all started. You mentioned that I'm a comedian, and my husband and I are very social people. We go out, we entertain a lot, we go to parties, and of course, as a comedian, I love to tell stories. And when you're telling a funny story, it builds over time. So it's very important to make sure that you're constantly building to get that great big laugh at the end. And that means no interruptions. Well, we were at parties, and I noticed my husband was constantly interrupting me when I was talking. And I thought, boy, oh boy, he's really living on the edge. So, this happened quite a few times, and it was really getting annoying. So I pulled him aside one time, and I said, listen, what the heck is going on? What are you doing? Why do you keep interrupting me? And he said, I don't want to, but I have to, because if I don't say what I'm thinking as I'm thinking it, I won't be able to recall it at the end of the conversation. And I thought, oh, well, this is just not going to happen. This is not good. So when the company came up with this product, I immediately put him on it. And like I said, it took about 2 months for us to start to notice a difference. He still has some difficulty, but, this will take some time. But we did see some help. But one of the first things that was sort of funny was when he started, taking the product, and then he was like, I asked him, I said, well, how do you feel? And he says, yeah, I think my memory's getting better. He goes, I remember when you used to be a size 6. And I picked right back at him, and I said, I remember when you had hair. So he didn't go down that road anymore.
So you play together. That's
yes,
really,
we do.
Really
we
a lovely
do.
thing. Well, I love to hear people who, in our day right now with all the political problems we're having, and this is not a political show, we need laughter because otherwise things are just too serious. And I have to tell you something. I knew that you said you had been in some doctor's office, and unfortunately they had on a particular program which was very one-sided. But I was at a doctor's office, and they had CNN on. And so and it was crowded. It must have been 20 people sitting waiting to see the doctor. And I just looked at it and I said, well, that's not true. I said it out loud. And another man shot back at me, and he was on the other side of the political, turnstile, as I call it. And And so we started to have this. And then other people started talking, well, the next time they put on this tiny house, the thing that goes on all the time, they don't have CNN on anymore because it became a riot. Because that's what's happening. Everybody's taking sides.
Yeah. Now, I've actually heard that now that you mentioned it. I've heard that they've decided to stop doing that. They won't put news programs on, anything like that. Because people start getting really agitated.
Yeah, it's true. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So getting back to this wonderful product, I was reading what you wrote in the upcoming April issue, and I had never heard of something called Citicoline. Citicoline.
Yeah.
And that is that. I was thinking of something else that sounds like the product that people, not a product, but a chemical that is when people have Parkinson's. It's some sort of a choline, and I forget the exact name, that they don't have enough of that, and they have to give them more. So that's another kind of choline.
Yeah. And so citicoline is actually a natural element that our bodies produce. And, of course, just like many things, when we're young, we produce a lot of it. As we get older, we don't. Although I have found that as I get older, my body produces a lot of cellulite, but that's another story. So the citicoline is very important for your brain, because basically what it does is it gets your neurotransmitters all fired up. And the neurotransmitters are what allow your brain cells to talk to each other. So as they're talking to each other, that's what is helping to retain memories and helps with focus and concentration. So that's why I described it in the article. Your brain think of it as a bag of microwave popcorn.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's a really great analogy, because that is really literally what your brain is like. So in the middle of the microwave cycle, when that bag of popcorn is in there, it's pop, 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 pop. That's your brain when it's young. It's talking. It's very active. And then, of course, as you get older and you get in towards the end of the cooking cycle, the pops are less frequent. And that's your brain as it ages. So basically all the citicoline is doing is it's refiring up your brain, and it's getting it popping again.
That sounds very natural. That sounds very good. Now, I did have some of this, and it does taste very good. It's like, I don't know, it was like strawberry, or it was a very good tasting.
We try very hard to make sure that the products taste good. I was just out at the Natural Products Trade Show in California 3 weeks ago, and there's a lot of brain supplements on the market, and I can honestly tell you they all were horrific in taste. I mean, just awful. There were a lot of them had very chemical tastes to them. And I think part of that is the packaging. They were in plastic containers or aluminum, which is not good for a natural food. Yeah, you have to put it in glass. So our product is in glass. Very, very important.
Isn't it amazing, though, if you look back maybe 10 years ago? I don't know what you were doing 10 years ago, but I've been in this field for a long time. The brain was not a big subject. It was the heart, it was the lungs, it was cancer, it was heart. And now the brain is the major discussion.
That's very true. Very true. Yeah.
So, when you think of it, Alzheimer's, all the diseases, and
dementia.
Now and now you know about that the brain really does control so many of our illnesses.
Absolutely.
And there are people, if they can get their brain in order, they can really help their own body.
Yep. There's no question. No question. Like you said, 10 years ago, you would be hard pressed to find a brain supplement. Everybody, like you said, was talking about the supplements for the body, but nobody was talking about the brain. And it just seems like this past probably year, maybe 2 years, it just seems to have exploded. And I think that is in part because we see the rise in Alzheimer's, dementia, all those types of issues that people have with brain. So as with any supplement, it's not a cure for any disease, but it's a preventative measure.
Well, it's really, when I think back on stuff, I remember going to my family practitioner was he was a heart. His field of specialty was heart disease. And at that time, I was very much into a lot of supplements, and I told him about vitamin E and a lot of things that I had been investigating and doing research. Oh, no, he says, forget it. This was many years ago. No, that's not going to do anything. Just eat what you eat. And he really poo-pooed all that stuff. And he was wrong.
Yeah.
Because we know now, I mean, I take quite a few things that I think are very important. You know, vitamin D, because we lack of that. And there are other things that really do make a difference, and they know that now.
Yeah.
Because food is not what, maybe it was okay years ago, I don't even know that, but food is not giving us what we used to get because of the soil.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think they did a study, and I think it was with oranges, actually. I think they said that if you compared an orange from like 50 years ago, the amount of vitamin C in that orange was 30% more than what you would get from an orange today. And that's because of the farming practices. You know, they used to have where, you know, the farmers would have a crop and then they would let the fields rest, basically, and build up their nutrients again. Well, they don't do that anymore. It's farming. It's crop after crop after crop. And so the nutrients just aren't in the soil. And ergo, if it's not in the soil, it's not going to get into the food.
Well, let me just tell everybody that you are listening. Very funny lady, very smart, Pamela Appel, who is the business development manager at Akuna, Canada, and they make Cogni Supreme. Among other things, we were discussing that just before, that they're a company that really interested in making very good products for people. But what Pamela's doing is teaching us about this. It's not about popcorn. Forget what she said about that. It's Cogni Supreme. And to get on the website, I always suggest people get on a website and you learn all about it. It's Cogni, C-O-G-N-I, Supreme.com, and you'll see a lot of things. Now, let me also say that if you want to call, because you don't like to get on websites, you would call 844-856-1165, 844-856-1165, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5 o'clock. And you're not going to get, unfortunately, you won't get Pamela answering the phone, because that would really be hysterical. But you'll get someone that will help you, and then you'll, when they order it, what does it take, about a week to get it?
Oh, it'll probably be faster than that, actually. Yeah, because we have product here in Florida at a warehouse, so it gets shipped directly from our warehouse, so it'll go pretty quick. And if they call in and mention that they heard us today on the show or read the article in Boomer Times, they will get a special discount and free shipping.
Okay, and that's the April issue coming up. You will see the article right there on page 7, and we hope that you will do that. And, of course, on the Cure Symposium's coming up, and we're going to have this comedian. She is funny. I must say that we're not letting her be as funny as she was when we were off the air, but she has a great way of taking her own personal experiences and making you smile and laugh about it. So that's great. Tell us a little bit about the founder of the company.
This is a really interesting story, actually. So the president of the company is this, she's a real spitfire, lovely, lovely lady. Her name is Zdenka Forst. She's originally from the Czech Republic, and she came to Canada and decided to start this company. She wanted to do something with health and wellness. She was always very passionate about that. She also wanted to do something to help people with their own financial woes. So she developed this company as a multi-level marketing and developed these wonderful products. We have a full staff of doctors. We have food developers, scientists. So it's a full-scale operation. And so she had this wonderful vision. And she's still very passionate about it today, 18 years later, and she's still going strong. She comes to the office every single day, and she's just a terrific, terrific lady, and she's just one of the warmest, nicest people, most genuine people you'd ever want to meet, and everyone at work just thinks of her as mom.
Okay, so what made her decide that she wanted to develop a product like that? Cogni Supreme?
I think that she's always been very, very good at predicting market trends. She's got a gift for that. She's just got a good instinct. And I think that she saw this, because this product, of course, got into development years ago. It takes quite a long time to develop something like this. So, she was the one who said, listen, we're doing all these supplements for the body, but, we have to do something about the brain, too. The brain, that's where it's going. And so she was very much at the forefront of the whole brain supplement movement. So good instincts.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I always like to see women, especially older women, being in a company and being so passionate about it. And of course, we discussed you and your life, and you have been a comedian, which I think is great. I don't really know any. I don't know even male comedians, but I certainly don't know female comedians.
No? None?
Now I do.
And see, there you go. There's always a first.
I mean, that is so good. And so, do you do, when you're performing for people, do you do off color, like a lot of our comedians we see on television?
No. I'm very much a storyteller. So basically, I just I can take a trip to the Walmart and turn it into a 10-minute routine. I just tell stories. I just, like most comedians, we are very observant. We have, I guess we have sort of a warped view of the world. So, something that might be benign to somebody else, as a comment that they wouldn't pay any attention to, that would be something that I would pick up on and kind of go, wait a minute, that sounds kind of goofy to me. So it's just really just a perspective. It's just the way I look at things. I don't think about it. It just comes out of my mouth. It's just an instinct. It's just the way I look at the world, and I've always been that way.
That's what I was gonna ask you. So when you were a little kid, did you make fun of things?
I did, and I was kind of shy as a kid. But I grew up in a family of 5 kids, and when there's 5 kids in the family, and you're sitting around the dinner table, and everyone's competing for mom and dad's attention. And so I have an older brother who's incredibly intelligent, and so he could, really, have these fabulous conversations. And then, you've got the younger brother and sister who are cute and adorable. And, there I am stuck in the middle, and I've got to somehow make myself stand out. So humor was the way that I did it. So that's how I got my parents' attention. And that's actually how I got through school, too. I was the class clown, but not in a disruptive way.
Okay. So, yeah. And I've heard that from when people were interviewing comedians, they always ask about that. Were you always funny? And they always wind up saying, I was the class clown. So it was there. But getting on to this. So if you're at a function and you are telling people, you go up, and it must be a little nerve-wracking, because I've read some of this, that here you have to come there and make them laugh. And you have to take a deep breath when you go out and say, okay, I'm going to be funny to yourself. How do you watching the audience, how do you not faint?
Well, you know what? This is like probably the number one question, because this public speaking is a big fear for a lot of people. And then you add on the pressure of having to be funny, and most people would, just like you say, they would just completely have a meltdown. I've never had that. I don't get nervous. I get excited. I love to be on stage, because what you see on stage really is just who I am in person. That's not a persona. That's not an act. That's not a character. That's just me. I just get up there, and much in the same way that you and I were talking before the show, what I was talking about, that would be literally what I would talk about during a show. There's no fake me. There's no stage presence me. It's just me. That's all there is to it.
Well, now that you mentioned that, Pamela, I was thinking about some comedians, thinking about TV. Of course, I have seen comedians in person too, and they usually do talk about themselves, and they make fun of themselves. And that's really why everyone can laugh, because they see themselves, I think, in that person. Isn't that right?
Absolutely, yeah. Like for me, I talk a lot about, I'm a middle-aged woman, I'm a plus-size woman, so I talk a lot about that, because I think in today's world where there's a lot of pressure for women, everybody has to be a size 4. And I always joke and say, well, I'm not going to be a size 4 unless there's a 1 in front of it. That's the only way I'm getting to be a size 4. But I do think that it does speak to, like you say, the audience is sitting there, and maybe there's somebody there in the audience who's sitting there, maybe not feeling that great about themselves, but they're going, hey, you know what? She's on stage and she looks okay to me, and I'm the same size as her, so I'm okay. I'm okay too. Yeah, and that's what I really like about it.
I think you'd be very funny if you went through someone's closet. thinking about the clothing that we have. Well, let's see. We have a variety of sizes. We're going to wear that later. No, we're going to, when we get thinner, we're going to, right? But we can't throw it out because what if we get thin?
Exactly.
And my husband used to say to me, so you'll buy new clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
yeah, I used to say that my closet, I could literally clothe anyone from size 6 to size 16. And unfortunately, that is not a joke.
I know. And so really, that's really funny when you go. That's why I think Chico is such a, and I don't want to give them any plus here, but Chico just knows about what women want to wear. I mean, everything I wear usually is a Chico because it just moves, you know, it stretches.
Right, it's comfortable.
Right. Well, I'm really very pleased to meet you because you do have a fantastic personality, and I think that the Cogni Supreme is really very important because we do want to be able to have our brains functioning. And of course, I want everyone to know, and you said this, if you have Alzheimer's, this is not what you're supposed to be having. If you have strong brain problems, go to your neurologist, do what you're supposed to do. But this is for people like your husband, like maybe for us, where all of a sudden we can't remember a name.
Right.
You know, we're just, things are delayed. And it doesn't mean that our brain isn't functioning, but it needs a little help.
Right. I call it the little brain hiccup, right? The brain hiccup, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It's just a natural part of aging.
Well, think about your computer.
Yeah.
Does your computer work all the time?
Right.
No. Sometimes you have all sorts of things. My computer goes down all the time.
Yep.
And it's
got to reboot.
That's right. And it's overloaded.
Yeah.
And that was another thing. I was once trained to teach a memory class. And I remember what it used to take to do that. I mean, you had to, every time you met someone, you had to know where you put that name, and you had to make believe they were doing funny things, and you could remember it. And I used to be able to go through a class of 30 people, remember everybody's name, everything about them, but it took tremendous amount of work. And I said to myself one day, that's not what my business is. I am not a memory trainer. And I just stopped.
Yeah.
And so I can hardly remember people's names because for some reason I can remember what they do, I can remember their face, but I don't remember names. And that's because I'm not really focusing on that.
Yeah. I think part of it too is like I do a lot of networking events on behalf of the company. And a lot of times when you're in a networking event, you meet a lot of different people. It's very difficult to remember all the names and what they do. So I always try to, when I introduce myself, I'll always say, well, my name is Pam, like the cooking spray. And those kinds of little things people will remember. You know,
and you should probably go through the alphabet A through Z. I know that person's name, but it's not A, it's not B. Oh, it's a T, right? And then you can figure out. Yeah. So we're all like that. And the only thing that has happened recently, though, is that as you're coming out with this wonderful product, how long has it been out?
We launched in November. Okay,
so it's new. And we call it a natural brain fuel.
Yeah.
And did you have to have any kind of research done? So if somebody wants to see what it really is when you were talking about
absolutely,
it, they could get that from going on the web?
They can, yeah. And the company that we get the Citicoline from, it's called Cognizant Citicoline. That's the branded form of the nutrient. So this company has been around for quite some time, I think 30 years. They have done extensive studies. And there will be studies that are cited on the website that give information about the different types of testing and clinical trials that they've done. And it was things like, the product showed that it had impact for a wide range of people. It wasn't just like baby boomers and seniors that were getting a benefit out of it. They were doing studies saying that middle-aged women were showing results in certain areas, that adolescent males were showing results in certain areas, specifically with impulse. So they were showing that, young men who were perhaps making bad decisions, once they introduced the product, that they were able to focus and concentrate and therefore be able to make better decisions. So they weren't as rash or as impulsive. So it's really quite impressive.
And how much do you have to take at one time? Like, this is a whole bottle of...
One bottle equals 1 month's supply. So
you take a spoon at a time.
So you just take a little bit, it comes with a little measuring cap, and you just take, I think it's half an ounce every morning. Yeah. And you can add it to other drinks. My aunt takes it and she adds it to a smoothie.
I see.
Yeah.
So it truly is a supplement.
Yep,
It's just
absolutely.
not a pill form.
Right.
It's in liquid form.
Right. And liquid really is what you want your supplement to be, because pill form, you're not going to get the absorption rate. So liquid, boom, the cells get it right away.
Well, that's great. So if you want to get on the web, it's CogniSupreme.com. My guest is Pamela Appel, and the phone number to call is 844-856-1165. Call Monday to Friday, so don't call today. Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5, but you can get on the web, of course. And mention that you heard it on the radio show, and also that you heard Pamela, but you can then get special pricing and free shipping. And we're just so excited that you've come here from Canada.
Thank you.
And you'll be working, to get everybody smarter. So I'm looking forward to people coming to the May 6th Cure event in Boca. You can get more information on that, and I'll tell you how to do that. And then you'll get to meet Pamela. We're going to have her do a little 5-minute hysterical, comedic something. I mean, we've never done this. Everyone who's listening, and if they've come, they know that's pretty serious, but that's maybe what we need is a little laughter,
we
right?
We do. And they say laughter is the best medicine, so that makes me Dr. Appel.
That's very true. Well, you are quite a star, and I'm so glad that we've been talking about all this, and we hope that we will see you soon, and we thank you for, being on our show.
Well, thank you.